this is the point where we like to open it up to any questions, off topic, on topic, where you feel that maybe in your life as a career of of law enforcement, you didn't have access to the boss, right? Or if you're a civilian and you just had a question about policing in general, here's your opportunity to speak to two people that have spent, a total of almost 65 years in the police department with 40 years of executive experience. Any questions? Did you jot down any questions during the show, Rob?
I think we actually did. I saw Bobby did one at 1841 hours. He said, how do you guys feel about a supervisor who brags that they never issued a CD in their career in the NYPD?
1841?
Yeah, or 0641 hours. There you go. Yep.
How do you feel about a supervisor who brags and never issued a CD in their career in the NYPD? Listen, a lot of supervisors don't write command disciplines. And again, for those who aren't NYPD, terminology, a CD is a command discipline, which is internal, in-house discipline. We talked about it earlier in the show. But a supervisor that brags about it is saying what? What are they saying?
Yeah.
In what context? In what context? Hey, I never wrote a CD because I took care of things otherwise, or because I don't give a shit. There's two sides to that to look at, right?
Yeah.
If they don't care, or because they were able to handle things without going to paper.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would have to find out a little bit more. Where was the guy assigned? What, where was the guy assigned? What did he do? And why didn't he issue a CD? Did he use other ways? How was his leadership skills? Did he go on further? So what is? Well, I like Leroy Jenkins said, "What's your favorite color?" But
blue.
Blue. Okay. Blue. And what was John saying?
Actually, it's actually orange.
What was John's question there?
John he's asking for Eric. He wants to know what the difference between access and authority is.
Oh, no, please, John.
Oh, wait,
No.
Let me get my slideshow back up.
Where's the white flag? I throw it up.
Oh, from the chat, yeah. All right, let's give Leroy Jenkins a shot. We invited him onto the show today from the Day Show. Are cops treated fairly by supervisors? And do supervisors get away with doing things they shouldn't be getting away with doing? I think we partially answered that question earlier in the show when we talked about discipline and treating people fairly, and bosses that were heavy-handed with discipline and unfairly treating their subordinates, which causes low morale and actually causes problems with retention on the job and actually recruitment as well. So a cop's being treated fairly by their supervisor. It depends on the supervisor. It does. And do they get away with doing things they shouldn't be getting? Well, we see that that's happened at the upper echelon, and everything, isn't a problem until it's a problem. Rank has its privileges, is taken way too far at times. So, are supervisors doing things that they shouldn't be doing? They are, but those are people with low integrity. Those aren't true leaders. You're a supervisor we've said this in the past, you're a supervisor by virtue of your rank, because you passed the civil service exam, or you were promoted to a discretionary rank by the police commissioner above the rank of captain in the executive ranks. That does not make you a good leader. And we've had podcasts on that in the past, and we actually touched on it again today.
Yeah, I agree. I think cops treated fairly by supervisors. It depends on the cop, and it depends on the supervisor. There are overzealous supervisors that don't treat cops fairly, and there are the guys that pick on. We spoke about that earlier in the podcast. That guys get picked on, and then they get ridden. That every supervisor goes to get the poor guy or girl out of there, and yeah. So I mean, and the supervisors, yeah, that's an abuse of authority. There are supervisors that do that, and it shouldn't. And I think I go back to, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but with Eric and what Eric's always says, but I will say that, all chiefs are compromised. I agree with that now. So
Okay.
I think
I'm not.
there's a problem there.
I'm not taking the
Not
bait.
biting?
I'm not
No,
taking the
okay.
bait. We don't have time. We're 2 hours and 17 minutes in. I'm not taking the bait. Sleepy
We got
Joe.
another 5 hours to go if you want.
Hey, listen, I'll keep going, but I'm hearing from people that it's tough to stick on for 2 hours. But to be honest with you, we have a higher viewership right now than we did in the beginning of the show. So I know people are. We've gotten positive feedback about this segment that started a few weeks ago, and so we're going to keep going with it. Sleepy Joe asks, does 1PP feed info ahead of time to well-liked bosses for stats? Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes, they do, and it does happen. It's done for different reasons, so that you don't get embarrassed, you don't get caught off. There's nothing you can do about it because the stats are the stats. The answers are going to be the answers. It's whether or not you have the answer readily available. And certain things you find out, like I've gotten phone calls, Ron, you can't know about this because there's no way you would have known about this in your normal preparation, but just be prepared. You're going to take a slap today at the podium. And you got to be prepared. And this way, at least, it's not a complete surprise. There's other times where they'll tell you, because you know what? The stats are not supposed to be punitive. It's supposed to be where you come together, you talk about statistics, you talk about deployment, you're getting ideas from each other, and you're talking about problems you're having and maybe solutions to those problems. You are talking about shortcomings. You're talking about things that may be going on in your command, and they want to make sure that you know about them and you know what you're doing. But it's absolutely, you're going to get a heads up if you know the right people.
And there's also those softball questions that are asked.
To
So
set somebody up.
you might not be, might not have been told about stats or things that, fed ahead of time, but they give you these lob balls to somebody that are looking to promote or make look like they're the best thing since Swiss cheese. I've seen that too, so.
Yeah.
I think
And also, they'll also give all the information to certain people that they want to look like superstars
right.
to help promote them.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I think RDV had a question. It's 7:22.
7:22. RDV, what are your thoughts about the department hiring next PC outside of the NYPD like Adams did with Keyshawn Sewell? You want to take that one?
Well, yeah, my thought on that is I personally think the PC should come from inside the department because we know that by coming inside the department, going up through the ranks, everything that's within the department, you have a good corporate knowledge that I would say. However, if Mayor Adams or the next mayor, Curtis Sleewell, comes out and says, I want to hire somebody has previous law experience, I would accept that too. The problem I have is when you take somebody and you put them in the position of the police commissioner and they have no prior police department experience, they come completely outside and they have to learn the job completely. They have to learn who they can trust and who they can't trust. We see what happened with Donlin. He came in, had some knowledge at JTTF, Joint Terrorism Task Force with the FBI. He had some knowledge with the Lower Manhattan Security Initiative and funding and things like that, but he didn't know the players, and he got to learn them real fast because they were all listed in his lawsuit. But I prefer somebody that personally has the corporate knowledge of the police department. It's a major machine, and you have to understand how that operates.
I agree with you 100%, especially like you're saying, coming into following this administration. Following this administration, there's a lot to be said for bringing an outsider in because of the current administration and all the issues and problems and scandals and everything else that have happened within this administration. But I agree with you that someone from within with corporate knowledge of the NYPD knows the inner workings of the NYPD would probably be a better choice. I don't know who that choice would be. If I was a police commissioner today, I don't know, well, if I was the mayor today, rather, I don't know who I would choose. I honestly don't. So I don't know if there even is, to be honest, who would I pick? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even say, Rob Lukach would make a great police commissioner at this time going forward. So I believe that having that corporate knowledge. So I'll put it this way: they absolutely have to have uniformed law enforcement experience. I think they have, wherever they come from, they should have gone up, grown through the ranks of the police department so they can understand what it's like from the uniform side. Because like I said earlier, I don't think Tish is doing a bad job for what she's up against and her experience, because she did not come up, even though she came up in the NYPD, it was through administrative positions, albeit executive positions, but not on the uniform side, so she doesn't understand that side of it.
Right. And I think that goes to the point of, like, whether she is or she isn't issuing the decision to give guys CDs for no being late or no body worn camera, or transferring them for that. I mean, that's something that a guy or gal that comes up through the ranks realize the implications of that, So I think it's easy from a perspective up on top, but you have to understand take the personal feeling as well, how it's going to impact those cops.
All right, Leroy, you have a ton of questions, and we're not going to be able to get to all your questions. We don't normally answer multiple questions from one viewer, but it's your first time with the show. I'm going to hit another question up over here because it's something that we've talked about in the past. You can go back and look. We have a podcast on it. Do commanding officers change reports and misclassify reports and change reports from complainants so the precinct doesn't take a big crime? It does happen. Again, low integrity commanders do this. They do put pressure, because I saw it on another one of your questions. They do put pressure on their subordinates not to properly classify crimes. In certain instances, we just recently had a transit district commander removed from his position for doing just that. So it does happen. It does happen throughout the job, and it is not acceptable in my eyes. I was never that type of person. I always had that, I hate cliches, but I had that it is what it is mentality. If I didn't know what the crimes were that were occurring, I couldn't properly deploy my resources in order to address those conditions. So there's plenty of people on the chat that have worked with me in the past. Not one of them is going to come forward and say that I've ever pressured anybody to misclassify anything or anything like that. As a matter of fact, when I did my CO's minutes, the minutes for my CO's meetings with my supervisors, I had on the footer, it's something I got from Chief Pizzuti, never compromise your integrity for the sake of activity, whether that's summonses, arrests, or crime classifications. Your integrity is the most important thing. Do what's right. Do what's right. And integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
And we've had just recently somebody from the transit district that was doing that, and they lost their command.
Yep.
So there are repercussions for that. I just want to thank Samara Cohen. She told me I should be saying institutional knowledge. It's not corporate knowledge, it's institutional knowledge. So thank you for correcting me.
Well, after 30 and 35 years, we should be institutionalized.
I appreciate that. I respect that, and I will change my terminology to institutional knowledge. Thank you.
You want to take this next one?
I said a lot of cops I know are vesting out with 10 years. What do you guys think about that? So I always say have an exit plan. That's fine. If you want to leave after 10 years, make sure you go into some other, either another law enforcement or some other position or whatever. Yeah, it's good to vest out after 10 years. Why? Because you get the PBA or the CEA benefits, because prior to vesting out before 10 years, you kind of lose your medical benefits. Just remember that, vest out at 10 years, you got to wait 10 years to get a pension. You got to wait for your 20th anniversary. So I understand that. You've invested a lot of time though, 10 years. You could also stay for the next 10 and get your full pension. If you're in that position where you don't feel you want to do that, then I understand that. But it's definitely a tough decision, but and it has to be an individual decision, right? But I can understand it, but I always say have an exit plan, and then know what you're going to do. Even if you do 20, have an exit plan, because I know a lot of guys that leave the NYPD after 20, get their pension, and they go into another law enforcement or security or whatever. So build your pension, and build your resume, and then you make your decision. And just so you know, Leroy Jenkins has just nominated you for the police commissioner of the city of New York.
Me?
Congratulations. Yup.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I'm holding up. I'm holding up for another question up top for a second. I'll get.
Oh no,
I'll,
I got at 7:31. He goes, Ron Leyson for PC.
I appreciate it, Leroy. Yeah, just quick on this. I think we've touched on it. A lot of morale. I hate. What do I think about it? I hate it. I hate that cops are leaving the job after 10 years because it's a job that I loved. It's a job that I lived and loved going to work almost every single day. And that's not the case anymore today. And I completely understand that. And that's one of the reasons we do this podcast. John and Eric do their podcast, is to try to get the word out, try to express and be the voices for those that can't raise their voice. So I hate it. I hate that everybody's leaving. I don't blame them for leaving. I don't blame them for not coming on. And on that note, Housing for Life, as bosses, how do you keep from ventilating? I like to ventilating on subordinates if you're having a rough day. Listen, everybody's human. Everybody has a bad day. What I used to do is, everybody that worked for me knows I always had an open door policy. My door to my office was always open. If it was closed, it's because I was probably changing, or maybe if I was eating, I closed the door, or whatever the case may be. But my door was always open and inviting, and anybody could knock on my door and come in, from civilian to executive, to come in and say hello, ask a question, run something by me, whatever the case may be. If my door was closed, people stayed away because they knew that I might have been having a bad day and I didn't want to be bothered. So that's what I used to do. I used to isolate myself to try and control it, because it's not personal. It's like I said earlier about discipline. If I'm hot and I got angry at somebody for doing something that most likely was a tactical nightmare, like sleeping in their car, and I issued a command discipline, I still wouldn't adjudicate it while I was hot. I didn't want to ventilate on them.
Yeah, I think for me, the answer to that question is communication. Just like you said, you communicated by them seeing your door was closed, and the other thing I would do is just tell them, hey, listen, I'm really in a bad mood. I'm getting pressured from whoever, or I'm in a bad mood, and can we just talk about it tomorrow or the next day? That's all. So.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.